lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
Well, Hanok, so much is going on in the land. It's hard to keep up just with the last couple of days. And I know that your emotions must have been and are all over the place because you
Yeah,
had a very special moment in time yesterday. You want to
yeah,
share that first? Let's start off with some
sure,
good news.
sure. Yeah, start with some very good news. So my daughter Ayala, my eldest, got married last night. Ironically, when she and now my son-in-law Yossi picked the date, she had totally forgotten that the date, September 8th, was actually my Aliyah anniversary. So it was 16 years ago. I mean, that would have been, in and of itself, that would have been great. The fact that Ayala found such a wonderful guy and to see her so happy, like put me, over the top. The Rav, the rabbi that did the ceremony, is the Rav of Yossi's unit.
Oh, wow.
And, he made a reference of, all the time he spent with Yossi, in Gaza and in Lebanon and in Syria. And this is just, it's seemingly never ending.
Yeah.
But it is wonderful to see her um at that point in life. I mean, it really uh, I get choked up emotionally just
Oh,
even thinking about it. So today I been pretty much walking around in a daze.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
she may be your daughter, but I do lay a little claim on this
yeah,
young lady. She is so
yeah,
special, and
no,
her getting married does not take away any of her duties from my personal Jerusalem fan club president.
no,
Okay.
no. I mean, it's a little more difficult because she's not in Jerusalem now; she's in Kfar Saba. But hey, the famous Clint Eastwood quote, man's got to do what a man's got to do.
That's
Well, it's
right.
the
She just
man, it's a woman.
I just from the first moment that I met her, that smile. Just a
Yeah,
sweet, sweet spirit. I mean,
yeah,
just incredible. So can't say enough about her. And
yeah.
I'm going to hold her to it that she's going to come and see me when I'm in Jerusalem.
She sure hopes to.
Yeah,
The thing that's so weird is, of course, my natural inclination would have been to post a picture of the two of them.
yeah,
But, I was told let the photographers
yeah.
take the pictures, and when they're ready, they will. So I'm like, okay, what can I tell you?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, if you
let's
have a picture on your phone, you could kind of send that to me, and I'll make sure I don't post it anywhere.
yeah, the we'll talk about that off air.
Okay.
Um, okay, so wow,
Now the
what's
other
going on?
side.
Yeah. Now, we could talk about terror attacks, we could talk about other things. I want to put in another piece of good news. United Airlines, which returned to Israel in July, has now reintroduced direct flights from Washington, D.C. and Chicago's O'Hare.
Hmm.
So this is huge. Really good things are happening. More and more foreign airlines are coming. Um, I know I sound like a never-ending commercial for tourism, but people still, I mean, I saw that when I was in America recently, people still have a very skewed, bizarre idea of what exactly is going on here in Israel. Um, so, there's nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to say, but it's probably better that I not.
Yeah, yeah, we'd have that. We can have that conversation right after we
Yeah,
talk about Ayala's
yeah.
picture. Okay.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so today, not long ago, it appears that Israel struck at the Hamas leadership in Doha. Doha is the capital of Qatar. Qatar is a bizarre nation in that they funded to the tune of tens of billions of dollars over the years, all of this unrest on US college campuses,
Hmm.
all of the endowments of departments that have been supporting jihad. And, then there are also the mediators for potential ceasefires. But the Hamas leadership has lived there and in Turkey, by the way, in luxury.
Yeah.
Now, that's the other thing that hits me. Why is it that it never dawned on anyone that something might be wrong with the idea that the top three, four, or five guys of Hamas all had a net worth individually of billions of dollars? I mean, it's not like, they created some high-tech company. All of this money has been siphoned off American and European aid over the years.
Hmm.
Astounding.
Hmm.
Absolutely astounding. So we're still waiting to hear if the attack was successful. If so, which of the terrorist leadership we were able to kill. But it really ramps up in a very serious level how we in Israel are finally at a point when we're fighting to win this thing.
It
I
appears
mean,
so.
on a serious level. Um, we have this, these continual warnings of what's going on in Gaza. But in the meantime, we have been taking out, they were using the very, very large multi-story apartment buildings. And by the way, does it not dawn on anyone? There are these luxury high-rise buildings in an area that was always described as both a refugee camp and an outdoor concentration camp. I
Hmm.
mean, it's astounding to me. It's also like Gaza is approximately the size of the Las Vegas area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. In 2 years, if we were actually trying to commit a genocide, this thing would have been over a long time ago.
Even
And
European
no one
countries now
cares
are
about
coming back and
facts.
saying that the genocide news is a lie. I mean, it's amazing how long it took them to do this, but it doesn't really matter at this point because
No,
the average uh, brain fell out, open-minded liberal person walking the streets already has it in their mind that Israel's doing this. So you can't you can't put those feathers back in the pillow.
no, and that really is astounding. And in speaking to people, um, I found that people actually think that when this war is over, the open, out of the closet Jew hatred worldwide is somehow going to go back underground, and it's not going to happen.
No.
Because the label of genocide, apartheid, Nazi, everything sticks because no one cares for the truth. When I
Yeah.
say no one, of course, I'm not talking about our listeners. I'm talking about the people in the media. I'm talking about the influencers. I'm talking about the people that have news shows.
Because
You
Jew
know, you've got
hatred has
Candace
been,
Owens that's
oh,
still,
yeah,
promoting
yeah,
medieval blood libels against Jews.
yeah. This whole thing, the Jew hatred has been empowered.
Yeah,
Is the way I would have to put that. It's been empowered over the last 2 years, and I wish that
absolutely.
I could say that in Hebrew roots Messianic circles that they haven't been affected, but you and I know a lot of different things, and yeah, still. Let's move on from that one before I dig myself a
Yeah.
really
Well,
bad hole. So,
listen.
also a
Yeah.
terrorist attack on a bus yesterday. Let me
Yes.
preface what you're going to say with Connect Israel Tour. We have our own private bus. We're not taking public transportation. So, if any of our listeners that are planning to do this tour or tours in the future, this is not relevant to our tours in Israel.
No, and also the other thing I want to point out is, Every terror attack, of course, is a tragedy.
Yeah.
Um, but having said that, was it 2 months ago, a guy who was a Muslim convert in Lexington, Kentucky, shot a state trooper, went into a church, killed 2 people, wounded several others.
Hmm.
Lexington, Kentucky remains you know, a lovely place to visit, and people still do. But they hear something that went on in Israel
Hmm.
someplace, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden, it's like crazy. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
It is. It truly is. But this is a time, and I need to put in a kind of a commercial here. I did receive a phone call yesterday, and I've sent out a couple of feelers on this, but there's a need that is in Israel and I apologize to everybody out there when I say this because I don't like the way that people do this, but I'm not one that's going to get the phone call from Israel, go online, do a YouTube about it, and promote myself and put people at danger in doing so. And that's done over and over again on social media. But there is a need right now that is pretty great. And so if anybody would like to donate to that, they can go to my website. They can give me a call, whatever. Be glad to talk with them about that. But again, I cannot give details. What I can tell you is a great story from yesterday, Hanok. So it's Monday morning. I normally play a men's league golf as I did yesterday. And so I'm playing with 3 other guys, one of whom I think I've seen him one time. He's new. Seen him one time. I've never talked to him, never said more than hello, nothing. So we're out and we're playing, and I get this message and regarding this need in Israel, and so I end up trying to figure out a place that I can make a phone call, and the call went a little longer than what I was planning for it to, and here I am. I've got a ball in the fairway. These 3 guys are waiting for me, and I'm like, "Excuse me, guys, I'd be right there." And so I finally got to hang up, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey, I apologize for that. I was on the phone with a friend of mine in Israel. There's a need having to do with the IDF, and we're trying to raise some support." This guy that I've never said more than hello to reaches in his pocket, takes out $100 bill.
Wow.
He doesn't know who I am. Takes out
No.
$100 bill, hands it to me, and said, "Those people need our support. You send this."
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
I think I missed that shot.
Okay. That's understand. That's a wonderful thing. And it actually provides the perfect segue because, all right, I'm just going to throw it out there. So what I'd like to start seeing amongst those that listen to us and those that heard me speak recently in America is I keep bringing up the idea of a day or an evening or an event or
Hmm.
series of events to salute
Hmm.
Israel. And, I don't want to get in any trouble with Kathy and your commitments at home, but I don't understand why more of y'all aren't reaching out to Mike and saying, "So, Mike, when can we schedule you?" Now, it is true that you can't go across the whole country all the time. Totally understand. If I was driving in America, I wouldn't be able to go to as many places as I do. But it's time for us who love Israel to take the next step up. It's time to really, really prepare. I mean, it's so obvious how the jihadis and their supporters have been prepared, how part of the Hamas game plan was to invade Israel, slaughter and butcher as many people in as many horrific ways possible, take hostages, knowing that Israel would immediately, like any country in the world, would immediately go into Gaza,
Yeah.
and knowing that they would gather within days the support of the entire world. And what is astounding is, and I've mentioned this before, New York has a mayoral election coming up in November. And there was a big event in New York City for the Mamdani campaign. And there was a woman there on Instagram who was a Jewish woman who went, this is again, this is an event for the mayoral candidate of New York. And all they were chanting was free, free Palestine, free, free, free Palestine, over and over again. I don't know the way it works in other cities, but in New York, the police commissioner, any of you who would watch Blue Bloods, y'all should know this. The police commissioner reports directly to the mayor. So if the mayor says we're going to be tough on those demonstrators, or we're going to, stand back across the street and do nothing, the world is changing. But I don't see on our side people saying, okay, so what's our next step? I mean, it's great when a congregation had an event to support Israel and raise funds. I'm telling you, it was fabulous. But the war now is almost 2 years old. I mean, think about it. In less than a month, it will be 2 years. You've had one event in your congregation? One? You hear me repeatedly say, don't simply donate money, but become a fundraiser. Here it is, Mike. You happen to mention to your golf buddies, the guy that you didn't even know, hey, sorry, but there's a need in Israel.
Yeah.
Now, had you said something like, sorry, had to take care of business and just left it and not mentioned Israel, this guy wouldn't have said, hey, by the way, here's the donation
Yeah.
towards it.
People are weary. I know that. But the rest of the conversation, by the way, with this guy and the other two are guys that are, they know me and they know a lot of what we do. They said, I said something about, they're fighting a fight so that we're not fighting it here. And they're like, yeah, but that's probably going to change.
You see what's happened in England, what's happened in France, what's happening currently in Canada and Australia. I mean, again, I always knew that there would be violent anti-Semitism in the United States.
Yeah.
I experienced it as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's face it, Honok, 2 days from now is 9/11.
Yeah.
Okay. 24 years ago.
Perfect.
And it was just prior to that I was in a church in Colorado Springs. We were teaching on Islam.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that goes along with that. And the pastor came up afterwards and said, well, I would like to hear the Muslim side. Well, it wasn't too many days after that he heard it.
Yeah.
It was called 9/11.
Yeah.
And so, but this 24 years ago, people, it is now a distant memory. We have a generation of people today, younger generation that don't even, that weren't there, that don't really, it's just in the history books. It doesn't matter.
I think I mentioned this previously, but I mean, I'm struck by it. So in the course of my presentation recently in America, as I'm mentioning it, not in every location, but I mentioned what's happening with the New York mayoral election, where America is heading, and 9/11, etc. And I've had in a couple of congregations, people came over to me afterwards and said, you really should elaborate what exactly happened on 9/11, because our people who, let's say, are whatever 20 something years old don't. And I said, you know what, I've raised my children.
Yeah.
No offense,
Well,
but you all need to raise yours.
the
I mean, really.
yeah, the problem lies in this, Hanok, is that when you mention 9/11 in most Messianic Hebrew roots places, and I've done this, okay, the next word you get out of someone's mouth in the crowd is about the conspiracies regarding it. Okay, so the whole conversation is derailed into something that is
Yeah.
it can't be proven, one way or another. People lost their lives. In Israel, when I was there during the Oslo War, the Second Intifada, everywhere I went was a story
Yeah.
about a bombing, a story about a friend of mine whose dad was behind a telephone pole when the bomb went off, ended up dying because of the shock to his heart later on. When I'm there now, everywhere I go, everywhere I've been in these last two trips has been a story about, you know, my friend knew one of the hostages. The stories of the atrocities. But here in the United States, I liken this, and I did it on Life on Purpose last night with Jared. Um, th- this is kind of like going to Disney, making a beeline for Fantasyland, and being the first one on It's a Small World, and then becoming trapped in this, not just the song in your head, but trapped in the circle. And every time you go around the circle, the world gets smaller and smaller until it's just really about me and I'm the only one on the boat.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going to have to happen in America to change that.
Yeah. It's I spend too much of my time every single day agonizing over this,
Yeah.
and of
Yeah.
course it's part of my personality to take responsibility for the world and saying why, what else could I be telling them? And the bottom line is, and it comes to something I learned at Johnson and Johnson many years ago, you can't lead someone where they don't want to go.
Yeah.
And again, I did have people bring up the issue that it wasn't so much that Israel wasn't prepared on October 7th, but there was an order to stand down. And I stopped them right in the middle. And I said, so we could go in, ethnically cleanse Gaza, and resettle it with Jewish communities, right? That's the end of your sentence, right? And they're like, well, and I said, well, wait a second. But the fact that that's not happening has nothing. Again, it's the don't confuse the issue with facts.
But
It's astounding how dumbed down the world has been for people who, okay, here's an interesting term for me to use, have left their religious backgrounds that they grew up in because they are truth seekers.
yeah.
They are truth seekers. They became exposed to an idea of a better way of living and being more faithful to the religious principles that guided their lives. But somehow it went in one ear and fell out the other. This issue of common sense.
And I know
And
that we
again, the fact that so many people have never been to Israel, or if they've been to Israel, they haven't been in an experience as part of an experience like the Connect to Israel experience. So they don't know. They don't have the background. They don't have the scope of understanding behind it.
yeah. Many people go to Israel for a life-changing experience, and it doesn't. Um, I
True.
know that we sound a lot of times like a broken record, Hanok. It's just this is where we're at right now,
Yeah.
and to talk to somebody and say, about, well, this, did you, the news this morning from Israel, and they say, well, I didn't look at the news.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first thing that I do in every single morning. The first thing that I do is I look at what's happened in Israel and the headlines of what's happened in the United States. I want to be informed on those things.
Yeah.
You know,
It's yeah. No,
because I could not have talked to this guy yesterday had I not known what had happened yesterday.
yeah.
So this is a time for us, once again, be informed. And I know I don't like to look at the negative news every single day any more than anybody else does. Um, but the conspiracy thing, when you go to somebody that lost a spouse, a child on 9/11, it doesn't matter what conspiracy truth you may come up with a total 100% absolute conspiracy, now a truth, but to them it doesn't bring their loved one back.
No. And
For these, for the dad of the Bebus
yeah,
children,
Jordan
it doesn't
Bivas.
matter what political persuasion you are. It doesn't matter what might or might not have happened. He has a room in his apartment that is empty, and that's all that matters to him.
Yeah. It's we're an amazing generation. We have the ability to affect the course of modern history
Yeah.
in a way that no other generation before. And the only comparison could have been World War II, the greatest generation, of America. How much more so now, where we have social media, where we have the ability to reach out and educate people. And I have to tell you, people are too darn lazy. And when people say like, well, yeah, all the news from Israel. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the news from Israel for many folks is a down. Guess how we feel about it here in Israel.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Really?
I know. I know. Um, yeah. So
Anyway,
there's things that are happening in Israel. There's things that are not being reported yet.
yep,
I know that.
yep,
Once again, there are some needs. If and you can't, a person that gives and gives and gives. There comes a point in time, unless you were one of the people that won the lottery the other night, that you can't give anymore. I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to put some
no,
guilt trip on somebody
no,
that you need to starve yourself 3 days a week so you can give to Israel. No, that's not it. But I can ask you this, that there should not be a morning that goes by that everybody that listens to the Israel update, there should not be a morning that goes by that they do not call upon Hashem to protect those who are
no.
fighting for the very survival of the land and people of Israel. You may not know the names. I do know some of their names.
Yeah,
But yeah, Hashem knows those names. Make sure that there's not a day that goes by that we are not calling out for their protection.
yeah. I mean, as a very, very bare minimum, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Absolutely. No,
But
agreed.
but that bare minimum may be life saving, and I
Yeah.
don't
Well,
understand that, Hanok. Neither one of us understand that. But I remember looking at a friend of mine there who had whose life had almost been taken by an RPG,
yeah,
and telling him the story of one of our grandchildren who had prayed just days before
yeah.
that Hashem would protect those who were fighting. And I got to relate that story to him, and he said to me, Mike, maybe that's what saved my life.
You know, one quick thing. there are all kinds of innovations going on the various battlefields.
Yeah.
One just struck me the other day, and I said, I've got to share this because it may have been missed in the media. APCs, armored personnel carriers. They've been used in combat. Wow, I certainly since back in World War II. Various iterations, generations, better protection, less protection, better horsepower, more or less. Make a long story short, at a certain point, they're no longer of the same value that they were.
Yeah.
You can't keep adding on additional armament. So what Israel has done is we've taken these old, relatively useless ones, we've loaded them with explosives and rigged them, sending them at what we know are the booby-trapped Hamas fortifications and detonating them remotely.
Okay.
So this is like, to me, this is like super cool. And of course, our drone technology just gets better and better. So yeah, listen, the fight goes on.
You got
And we're
it.
fighting for Western society, and Western society doesn't even get it.
Yeah. But no matter what, let me reiterate this, no matter what the technology is that Israel can come up with, the greatest technology, the greatest force is prayer.
Yep.
1948, 1967 attest to the fact that prayers are answered. And that's
Absolutely.
why there is an Israel today. But maybe
Amen.
it's somebody that's looking at this face right now and thinking,
I'd like to think so.
those two faces look better on radio. Maybe that's what's going through your mind. That's fine. But maybe it's your prayer. Yes, you.
Yep.
Maybe it's your prayer that saves a life along the way.
Yep. That's right.
All right.
And get together the people in your congregation.
Yeah.
Start planning these Israel events. Come on, guys.
Go.
Come on,
There you
y'all.
go. Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
that's it for now.
You got it.
And tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
Okay.
Take care, Mike.
Goodbye,
Have a good
Robin.
one. Bye-bye.